Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you already know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So recently, and I'm always telling you all that you can reach out to me on IG. That's really the best way. If you have a question or a comment or a serious concern, that's really the best way, at least right now. I know that there's a lot of people that like to drop into the comments, and sometimes I'll see your information and sometimes I don't. But, a lot of times if you, like I said, will directly, contact me, I definitely will see it, sooner or later. At least for right now, that is probably the best way. And I've had a lot of people to reach out to me, and I've tried to get back to them as soon as I can. And sometimes it might take, let's say, a couple of days, but I just want to let you all know that that is a really great way to contact me. Anywho, so now to the main topic of today. So what happens, okay, when a woman has been waiting a long period of time? She's trying to be abstinent. She's trying to do things the way that maybe her pastor has told her to do, or what she's seen in different videos, but she just doesn't feel like it's working. She's not getting the men, to really pay attention to her. The few men that are paying attention to her, they might, be around for a second, but as soon as they find out that she's trying to be abstinent, then they ghost her, or, they leave, or they might even have a conversation about it, and then they're gone, right? And, there, again, if you really want to go deep into this, and you all know, like I said, if you've been following me for a while, that's what I do. I try not to give you all surface answers because it's not really going to help you. And I do know that there's always situations where things might be slightly different just because, you might have a different set of circumstances, that you're dealing with. So I always want to make sure, that I lead with that because, you always have to put that into perspective. But, as we really go on, the main thing here, for the ladies to understand is if you are dealing with this guy, you run into a guy, you're saying, okay, I'm abstinent. I'm abstinent 5 years. I'm abstinent 10 years. And just a quick aside, I truly, don't believe you're truly abstinent, and this is not trying to ruffle a feather, but until you're in a relationship, I would not, even consider you to be fully abstinent. You have to abstain from something. If you don't have the man in front of you that you're very attracted to, that you really like, you're not really in true, abstaining. And I think this is why so many women make the mistake of getting into a relationship, and then they're basically saying that they're abstaining, and then the man is kind of joking in the back of his mind. He's just kind of laughing at you because he knows that once you have that true temptation, that's generally when you're going to cave. And women have to recognize the older you get, as you start to get closer and closer to 50, 55, the more you are actually going to want, sex. That's just how it works. So men, as they get older, in general, not always, but in general, they want less sex. But as women get older, they want more sex. So if you're over 35, you're already in a situation where you average out with the man that is around you. You want sex just as much as he does. And in many cases, you might even want it more. So before, like I said, I get too deep, I want to make sure that you understand this and you prepare yourself for this. Because if you don't prepare yourself for this, more than likely it's going to backfire. And then you might feel bad, you'll be crying out to God, and each and every last thing will happen because you didn't really understand that, like I said, it's not the temptation. You have to deal with the temptation. And the best way to understand this is, like I've said before, sex is kind of like a drug. It actually releases hormones and other types of chemicals within the body. All right. So you get your high once you reach your orgasm. So a lot of people kind of understand that. Well, it's the same thing, like I say, literally for people who do drugs. As soon as they shoot whatever it is into their veins, or they take a pill or whatever, they get a high. Okay, that's what we call it. We call it a high. So if you take that person and you remove them away from the drugs, and maybe you put them in jail, or maybe you put them, in some kind of rehabilitation program, as soon as they get out of that and they get away from, that quote unquote protection, what happens? Many of them go back to the drug. Okay. And the reason why they go back to it is because now they have access to it again. And it's the same way that abstinence works when you are actually dating. Okay. So abstinence, I don't want you all to hold on to it until you're in a relationship, until you have a guy that you really like in front of you, because that's when you have to double and triple down upon it. If you really want it to, work, for you and what you're trying to do. So that's just a little bit of an aside again, before we get into it. Now, so again, let's be real for a second. And since this is primarily talking to ladies, I know the men can get something out of it as well, because there are men that want to be abstinent and they're trying to do things, a little bit better way out here. Okay. So if you're going to do it, for the ladies, right now, think about it this way. If you ran into a man, okay, and that man said, look, the only way that I'm going to date you or marry you or whatever it is, okay, you have to wear, lip gloss. He's like, I don't like lipstick. I don't like this matte lipstick. I don't like dry lips. I want you to wear lip gloss. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, that's not really that big of a deal. I like him. He has almost everything I'm looking for, so I can make this lip gloss upgrade, right? And the reason why you do that is because he is what you're looking for. He's exactly what you're looking for. He has the job. He has the looks. He speaks to you well. You guys have really great conversation. You spend a lot of quality time together. He wants the same dreams that you do. So you think in your mind, well, dealing with this lip gloss thing, that's really not that big of a deal. And honestly, he has to be attracted to me. So if that's how he's attracted, I'm not even worried about it. Right? Okay. But I think most women, they can kind of understand that that's not that big of a sacrifice. So when you're dealing with men, it kind of works the same way. A lot of men, what they're really looking for is, like I say, they're looking for their perfect woman. And while there's a lot of people in social media and different things like that will talk about how men settle, quote unquote, a lot more than women do, the concept here is that a lot of men, if they find the woman that they care about, the woman that is everything that they want, the woman who has the looks, she has the kindness, she has the support, she has the same, drive and wants to go down the same exact path that he does. Okay, so 90% of what he wants is kind of in the woman. Not to say that she has to be perfect or anything like that. And I'm always telling you all, you're only generally going to get about 70% of what you want. But in this particular case, we're just going to say this guy feels that you're really giving him that 75%. And he's, dated a lot of other women. He's been around a lot of other women. And those other women cannot compare to what you're able to bring to him, right? So at that particular point, he sees you higher than he sees all the other women that he's dealt with. So at that point, if you're like, well, look, I want to be abstinent. I just don't trust it. I really want to give myself to my husband. I have had men in the past, or you could say, maybe you're a virgin or whatever it is, but you're like, I just don't want to do that. I really want to keep this to me. And I really just don't want to have, all these soul ties out here. I just want to be as connected to my husband as possible. Okay. So when that happens and you're basically telling him this, a lot of women might feel that a lot of men are going to basically grab their stuff and run at that point. They're going to ghost you, blah, blah, blah. But again, if you are what he's looking for, okay, he might be slightly upset depending upon his walk. He might be slightly upset, but he's probably not going to worry about it. At that point, it really doesn't matter. Why? Because you're most of what he wants. And because you're what he wants, he's willing, just like you were willing to put on the lip gloss, he is willing to wait because he knows that one day he's going to have sex with you. So at that point, it's not really that big of a deal. But what he's saying is like, look, I am not necessarily worried about this moment in time. I'm more worried about forever. Now, I will say, it's like I've told women before, if you can walk the abstinent route, okay, men generally will propose quicker. You're not going to get this 2 and 3 years that some women are saying that they've been in a relationship for 3 and 5 and 6 and 7 years with men, because there's that point where the man going to want to get his. All right. And so he might try to rush. Not, well, I don't want to know if I want to use the word rush, but he might move, the engagement along. So it's unlikely that you're going to have to deal with 2 and 3 years of you waiting for a ring. More than likely it's going to happen within nine months to maybe 15 months, which is the time that I have always encouraged any woman over 30 to be looking for. A woman over 30 does not need to be waiting, 3 and 4 and 5 years for a man. If he has not, proposed to you within, honestly, about 18 months, if you're over 30, then you need to drop him and you need to move on, because now he's wasting your time. But anyway, let's get back to it. So why do a lot of men not wait? All right. The reason why they don't wait is fairly simple. You just really aren't that woman, or he doesn't know if you're that woman yet. And so he's trying to make up his mind as to how he feels about you. This is one of the main reasons why not only do I encourage, women and men to come healed, but also I try to encourage them to get their walls down and to be almost in, full courting mode by the time you reach day 90. All right. So remember, when we talk about this first 90 days of dating, I usually say that's the time of dating. That is the time that you're gathering data about the other person. So at the beginning, the first couple of weeks, ladies, I don't expect you to do much besides have conversation with the guy, talk to him on the phone. Please talk to him on the phone. Please, please, please talk to him on the phone. Don't always want to be in person. Don't always try to spend his money. Try to be in a situation where he can actually get to know you, that it doesn't cost him anything. And being on the phone is just an easy way to bridge the gap between the in-person dates. All right. And even if it's in person, I definitely encourage you to be open, to doing a few coffee dates and also maybe walks in the park or hikes or whatever like that. But again, I would not encourage that necessarily for the first date, but I definitely encourage you to make that a part of, the whole dating process. Remember, ladies, it's not about having great, wonderful, super dates that you can brag to your friends about. That is not the purpose of dating. While some women will get that, that should not be your concern. Your concern is, who is this man? What is he about? What is he trying to do? Blah, 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 right? So that is the goal. So let's get back to it. So in the first 2 or 3 weeks, your only real thing that you're trying to do is to basically, trying to get to know him. Who is he? What is he about? What is his future? What are his goals? Is he the train that is moving down the train tracks, or is he still stuck in the station? Does he know how to protect, provide, and lead? And this is the time where most men are supposed to step forward and show that they can do this. This is why I encourage men to pay for the first couple of dates 100%, because they're basically trying to show, hey, I can protect, provide, and lead. Now, as you go deeper in, I don't necessarily mind if women start to pay, or like I said, you go for cheaper dates so everybody can kind of walk away from it. But I just feel like the first 1 or 2 dates, especially, the man needs to pay, because he needs to show that he can provide. Okay, now, as you start to get past that 3rd week, going into, this time, from that point around 21 days into the 90 days, slowly but steadily, not overnight, but slowly but steadily, you need to be showing him, okay, what life will be like if you were his wife. All right. Now, I can't necessarily tell you how to do that, because that's going to be how you personally would do it. There are some women that are going to lean more into traditional roles. There are some women that are going to maybe want to support him with his business or with his dreams. There's going to be other women that are just going to want to, stay by his side, and not cause drama. So there's lots of different ways that women can show that, but it's going to be up to the man to figure out, okay, whether or not you're walking in the wife energy that he is concerned about. And I would not encourage you ladies to try to fake the funk, okay? Because one of the things is you don't know what he wants. And if he is, any kind of intelligent, he's not going to tell you. Okay? Because just as a woman, you're not going to tell him everything. And if he has any kind of sense, he's not going to tell you. Okay, this is the equivalent of like when you deal with contour makeup. I'm sure most of you know what contour makeup is. Okay, so you might be trying to do the little thin nose thing that a lot of women are doing because you might think that that is attractive. But what happens when you have a man like me that likes black noses as they are? So when I see that type of makeup, that's not attractive to me. So now you basically have turned me off when what you really want to do is you want me to like you for you. Does this make sense? So you really can't go into the situation trying to be the superwoman that you think that he wants. Instead, you just have to be who you are. All right? So if you are that woman that wants to cook and clean, do that. If you are that woman that wants to support his dreams and help him plan on his businesses and or his job, then do that. If you are that woman, that wants to, do activities and fun things and you want to show him things in the world that he's never seen, do that. No matter what the situation is, you have to show up with your authentic self, okay, being the woman that you want. But generally speaking, that's not going to be the woman he goes out on the first date with. That woman, that genuine woman, more than likely might not show up to around day 60. And so you have to slowly unravel who you are, to this man. And this is another reason why so many coaches, and I really want the women to pay attention to this, because most male coaches that are talking to women, okay, encourage them not to have sex for at least 90 days. I don't know any guy except for one, and this particular coach is actually homosexual. He's the only person that I've ever run into, okay, that encourages women to have sex. And his goals through that were very devious. And I actually did a response video to it. And honestly, I'm not going to do a link to it because I'm really almost disgusted by, how he was encouraging women, to live their lives in a way that's just going to hurt them. And it might sound good, but I've encouraged you all to know that information that sounds good and works really great with your emotions is not always the best information. Okay? And it's going to be up to you to decide whether or not you're going to go down that route or another. Anyway, let's get back to it. So when you're dealing with, okay, that, like I say, that 90 days or so, you need to be your full self. He needs to experience your full self. And at that point, that is when most of those men, if they haven't, unless you made some kind of mistake along the way, or he has made some mistake along the way, that is generally when most people are going to start to lock in and start to go into a courting phase, right? And you as a woman, you need to make sure you're vetting him. I'm skipping over that because that's not the topic of this video, but I want to make sure that I bring that up. So now, as you've gone through that, and he starts to see this wonderful woman that you are, okay, if you line up and he's seen it and he's experienced it, okay, and you're just like, well, I just really want to stay abstinent, and you find the energy and the strength within you to line up with that, okay, then if he really likes you, I pretty much guarantee you he's not going to leave you. He's going to go through the process. Now, if you have picked a bad man, okay, then he's not going to go through that process because his boy is going to rag on him and they're not going to allow him to go through that process. But again, this is all about what you want and how you're picking men. Okay, I've always encouraged you that there's a lot of little things you can be looking for. And a number one thing that's easy to find out for most men, because most men are not going to protect their friends, they're going to protect themselves, but they're not going to protect their friends, is you need to ask about his friends. Right? Are his friends married? Do they want to be married? Do they have any fiancés? Okay, that is key information. If his 4 to 5 closest friends, none of them are married, none of them are engaged, more than likely this man is not going to wait for you. And more than likely, honestly, he's never going to marry you. Okay? As people say, birds of a feather flock together. And so people are generally the average of their 4 to 5 closest friends. So if he is not married and he's not engaged, okay, more than likely he's not going to marry you. Even if you are perfect, more than likely he's not going to marry you. But see, that's all their point of, like I say, slowly but steadily getting to know him. And then once you find out that he is not what you want, you have to cut him off. And I know that this is very difficult for a lot of women to cut the man off 45 days in or even 30 days in, because many women, they just don't want to be out here in this dating world. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with the men, all this other kind of stuff. And I get it. But that is not going to like I told you, I'm here to help you get married. So there are certain steps that you just have to go through. Now, hopefully the first man that you run into will be that man. Okay. But if he's not, okay, then you have to cut this guy off. And it's dangerous for you to hang around with him. It's dangerous, ladies. I'm hoping you really, really get that. Okay. That it is dangerous for you to hang around with a man that is not lined up with your marriage goals. Because number one, you might be in a situation where your man, your literal man, okay, that would give you all that might be around you. You might not necessarily know, who he is or whatever, but he might be close by. And so now you're wasting your time and you've locked yourself up with a guy that will never bring that to you. So now you could have missed an opportunity. Second, that man, whatever man you hang out with, his energy is going to get on you. All right? Many of us understand that a lot of times we date the same person in a different body. And I've done lots of videos on that. So you'll just have to trust me on that right now. So if you get that energy on you, okay, that energy, like I said, can hurt you in future dates. All right? And then you also have to be able to discern whether or not the man is a good man versus that he's a bad man. Okay, so again, you got to cut that off and get back to it. This is why I know a lot of women want to fall in love. And a lot of women fall in love very quickly. Okay, and I understand that. And men fall in love much slower. All right, and there's a lot of people that have tried to explain that, talking about how men are very concerned. They become very worried. They really go into that protection state. So it takes them more time to really figure out, okay, do I really want this woman that's coming to my life that I want to actually take care of her? But you as a woman, you have to recognize you are hitching yourself to the train. Whatever train that man is, you are literally taking your engine, because you have an engine as well, and you are basically locking it into him. All right? And if he ain't moving, okay, then you are basically stuck in the station with him. So you want to find a man that is moving at the speed that you can move. Okay, if he's moving 150 miles an hour down the railroad tracks, okay, and you can't go that fast. All you can do is 55 miles an hour. Then you can't hitch yourself to a man going 150. Now, if the man is going 75 and you can go 55, you can hitch with him. Because at that point, he's going to help you. He's going to, give you a little bit of energy and make sure that you're taken care of. But at the same time, again, you don't necessarily want to hitch yourself to a dude that's going 10 miles an hour either. So you have to play this game of understanding what you want and how to get there. But again, now that I've gotten all that out of the way, how can you ensure that you will be that man's woman? Well, first of all, like I said, you have to be yourself. The second thing is you have to push yourself towards 10. And when I say that, that's about pushing yourself towards excellence. All right? And we all can find ourselves getting into this lazy place. Okay, and this again is one of the differences between the information I give on this channel and a lot of other men that talk to women. And remember, on this channel, I talk to both men and women. Okay, but you have to move yourself towards excellence. No matter what you do as a woman, there are going to be these 3 non-negotiables that men are going to be concerned about. And as you're looking at them on the screen, I also want you to pay attention to the ones I put up there for men. Because if you're new to this channel, you might not understand that I talk to men all the time. I don't talk to them quite 50%. I talk to them more like 40%. But when I'm talking to men, I'm always bringing up those non-negotiables. And just like you as a woman, okay, don't want to deal with a broke man, which goes into provision. That's what that deals with, provision. You don't want to deal with a broke man, and you would find that annoying, and it would kind of get on your nerves if he had absolutely no money and had no desire to get money. The same thing goes for the three non-negotiables that you see when it comes to men. All right. And I know that these three things are the very things that most women don't want to do. Okay. But see, that's the whole thing. That's the thing about life. The very things that we don't want to do is the very things that we have to do. And like I've said many times before, when you were 0 through 18, your parents were actually supposed to teach you this. Okay, slowly but steadily, they were supposed to teach you this over the last 18 years if you were a woman, and the same thing with the non-negotiables if the person was a man. But a lot of times, a lot of parents, they don't do this. And see, the people who have it the easiest in the dating market are those who follow these rules. And I know for a lot of women, they believe that they're not attractive. But again, I can't go into that in this particular video because it'll make it too long. But I have plenty of videos, one that's down in the description that you can go check out, where I prove that every single woman is attractive. But see, what happens is if you don't get the attention, generally speaking, in middle school, a lot of women give up. They simply give up. And so now they believe that in their 20s and 30s, they're unattractive, when really they were very attractive. They just gave up. And there's even been YouTubers that have talked about how they lost 150 pounds, or they finally glowed themselves up, or they finally got the right, clothing or hair or whatever it was. And then they saw, the men that were attracted to them shoot up. Most women are attractive and most men are attractive, but it's all about how much effort you're going to put in to how you look. And then you have to have the understanding that most people are not going to like every single person. Okay, so you do need to understand that. But if you are pushing towards 10 and you find a man, okay, that likes that energy, that likes that style, that likes the way that you have handled your non-negotiables, okay, he will have no problem with waiting if you have picked a good man, okay? And I've done some videos on that, so you can go check and look at those, but you still have to pick a good man. You can be walking in wifey energy all you want. You could be going through and you could be the most beautiful woman on the face of the earth. Whoever you think is the most attractive woman, you can be walking, looking just like her. But if you do not have the ability to recognize what a good man looks like, okay, then you're going to continue to struggle. And we see this a lot with a lot of celebrities, because there's a new influx of celebrity baby mamas. And a lot of these women are very frustrated because they'll meet these guys that us, when we're kind of looking at them, we're saying, why in the world is she dating him? She's got this money and she's doing this and she's doing that. But she'll go after that guy and then he drops a baby in her. And then 2 years later, you can't find him. So again, you still have to know what's the good man and what's the bad man. Anywho, I hope this helps. Please remember that we do on Thursdays, we do Thursday Talks, which is kind of like a Zoom live thing where we all kind of get on and discuss. So if you want to come hang out, please do. I want to hear your voice. I want to know exactly what you're thinking. It also allows you to talk to other people, from around the world that are on this particular channel. And we're still doing a lot of things with the speed dating, so please check that out. But anyway, until then, please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you all in the very next video.